Yeah. Good morning, everybody. In last session, we discussed about HTTP protocol and protocol methods. HTTP protocol and HTTP methods. Right. In today's session, we are going to talk more about HTTP request and HTTP response. HTTP request and HTTP response because uh, in another few days of time we are going to start REST client development. In order to develop REST client, we should be having very good knowledge related to HTTP protocol methods, HTTP status codes, status messages, and how HTTP request looks like, how HTTP response looks like. So for that, today we are going to understand more details about HTTP request and HTTP response. Alright. So before getting started, all of you please mute your mics. All of you mute your mics and stop your cameras. All of you mute your mics and stop your cameras. Now screen is also visible. Right? Fine. Let's get started. So first of all, what is this HTTP and why we need this HTTP? What is HTTP and why we need HTTP? HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This protocol acts as a mediator between client and server. This protocol acts as a mediator between client and server. So in this web world, we are developing several web applications. For our web application will be deployed to a server. Now, if we consider this as one web application, this web application will be deployed to one server. If it is a Java based web application, it will be deployed to JEE server. Right. This side client will be available who is using browser. Now client is trying to access our web application from another machine. Our server and application running in one machine. So this is one machine. Inside this machine server is installed. Inside the server application is running. Now this is browser. Using by the client in one machine. This is one machine which is using by one end user. He is called as a client. Now from this browser he wants to access our application. From this browser he wants to access our application by sending a request to the server. He wants to access our application. Then server will process that request, will send the response to the client. So here to send that request or to receive the response, we need one protocol. That protocol is called as HTTP protocol. This is request and this is response. Client will send a request to the server. Server will process that request and will send response back to the client. To send that request or to receive the response, one protocol is required as a mediator. That protocol is a HTTP protocol. Are you guys clear with this? This is client server architecture. This is client server architecture for web applications. Client server architecture for web applications. When you go for a web application, you will see this kind of architecture. Client will be available, server will be available. Now, client will make a request to the server. server will process that request, and server will send response back to the client by using HTTP as a mediator. That HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which provides a set of instructions. Those should be followed by client and server. We are using Tomcat server. We are using Tomcat, JBoss, WebLogic, WebSphere, right? All these servers will follow HTTP protocol instructions. That is the reason when I send a request from the browser, that server is able to process that request. And all the browsers which we are using like Chrome, Firefox, IE, Safari, these browsers will also will follow HTTP protocol. Browsers will follow the protocol, servers also will follow the protocol. That's why our browser request, whatever the request we are sending from the browser is receiving by the server. That means they both will follow the same standards. Same set of rules will be followed by both server and client. That's why client and server able to communicate with each other. Are you guys able to understand what is HTTP and what is the purpose of HTTP? HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It acts as a mediator between client and server when we are using web applications. When it comes to distributed applications, like our web services are RESTful services. Distributed applications means one application will communicate with another application. Now, distributed applications architecture. When it comes to the distributed application, so one project can communicate with another project. Now, so here I'm taking this one as app 1. App 1 is one project. This project is running inside a server. This server will be running inside a machine. Here also same story. So inside the web application we can have a web service also. App 1 is a web application, inside that web service is available or REST API is available. That server is running inside one machine. That app 1 is a REST API. For one REST API, several clients can be available. For one web application, several clients can be available. Multiple people will access the same web application. Similarly, one REST API can be accessed by multiple people. They are called as clients. Client is also a project. Here client is a browser. This is a simple web application. Here client is a browser. But here client is also one application. This is app 2. This application 2 is also running inside a server. That server is running inside one machine. In one computer we installed a server. That server running, and inside that server our application 2 is running. Now application 2 wants to communicate with application 1. Application 2 wants to communicate with application 1. Application 2 and application 1 both are running in the same server or both are running in the different servers? I need answers. Both are running in the same server or both are running in the different servers? They are running in the different servers. Those servers are available in the same machine or they are available in the different machines? Those two servers are available in the same machine or they are available in the different machines? Those servers are available in the different machines. Those machines will be available in different locations. Now assume that this is available in India. We developed a API, REST API. Now This wants to be accessed by UK. In the UK location, one system is there. In that, one project is running. In the India, I developed a REST API. My REST API running in my system. Now, this UK project wants to communicate with India project. So the computer which contains this application 2, right? The application 2 which is running in the machine should communicate with the application 1 which is running in the another machine which is running in the different location. How it is possible? How it is possible? Application 2 will make a request to the application 1 by using URL. Application 2 will make a request to application 1, right? Application 2 will make a request to the server where application 1 is running. Will make a request to the application 1. Then application 1 should process that request and should send the response back to application 2. Should send the response back to application 2. So this is called as request. Then this is called as response. Request and response. Are you guys clear with this one? So to send this request and to receive the response, two applications are communicating. Here, two different applications are communicating which are developed by two different programming languages. So in order to establish that communication, we will use one protocol as a mediator, that is HTTP protocol. That is HTTP protocol. So clients will send HTTP request to the server. Server will send HTTP response back to the client. Client will send HTTP request to the server. Server will send HTTP response back to the client. HTTP response back to the client. Now here this is called as resource application. This is called as my resource application. This is called as my client application. So one REST resource, one REST API is available in the application 1. That REST API is going to access by another application, which is application 2. Application 2 playing the role of the client. Application 1 playing the role of the resource, REST API, web service. Application 1 exposed one web service or RESTful service that is going to access by application 2. So client and server, client and resource, consumer and provider. So different terminologies are there. Consumer wants to access the provider in the web services terminology. In RESTful services terminology, client wants to access the server. If a client wants to access the server, client should send a request. By using which protocol? By using HTTP protocol, client will make a request to the server. Server will process that request. Server will send the response back to the client. The request which client is sending is called as a HTTP request. The response which server is sending, that is called as HTTP response. Are you guys clear with this one? From last 10-15 days, we are trying to understand how to develop this API. How to develop a API we are trying to understand. Now, part 1 of the movie is almost completed. Almost completed, just I need to give the interval bank. Then our movie part 1 will be completed. So then we will go for movie part 2, that is client's development for the REST API. Still interval bank is pending. I need to give some client that interval bank, right? Some thrilling should be there. But that we are going to do in the part 1 only. Once that part is completed, then we will go for client side development. Currently we are developing resource development. We are developing REST controller. That means we are developing a API. We are providing service for other applications. Still the service development part is not completed. Still some concepts are pending like documentation by using Swagger. Once that part is completed, then we will go and develop the client development, that is part 2 of the movie. Are you able to follow this? The distributed application architecture. Guys, please confirm. I need your answers. Good. Fine. Now, sir, what is this HTTP request? What will be there in the HTTP request? What will be there in the HTTP response? We want to understand. So, being a REST API developer, whatever the details you know about the request response, that is not sufficient. We need to know some more internals of HTTP request and HTTP response. But if you are a web application developer, whatever you know already about HTTP request, HTTP response, that is sufficient. HTTP request will be sent by the browser. Then server will receive that request, will send the response to the client. That's fine. Whatever the knowledge that you have, HTTP methods, get method, post method will be available. Get is used to get the data. Post is used to send the data. Get is idempotent. Post is non-idempotent. That knowledge already we discussed. That is sufficient for web application developer. But for distributed application developer, that knowledge is not sufficient. We need to know some more details, some more internals we need to understand about HTTP protocol, because that knowledge is required to develop our client. So tomorrow or day after tomorrow or Monday, we are going to start the client's development, REST client development. To develop that client, whatever the knowledge we have, that is not sufficient related to HTTP protocol. Are you guys clear with this? Shall I move forward? Shall we see the next step? Good. Now, HTTP protocol is divided into two parts. HTTP protocol divided into two parts. Now, this protocol acts as a mediator between distributed applications. This protocol acts as a mediator between distributed applications like client and resource applications. Client and resource applications. Fine. HTTP protocol divided into two types. Two parts, not types, sir. HTTP protocol divided into two parts. HTTP protocol divided into two parts. One is HTTP request. One is HTTP request. Another one is HTTP response. One is HTTP request. Another one is HTTP response. So when we are talking about HTTP protocol, we will discuss about HTTP methods, HTTP versions, status codes, status messages. Along with that, we need to discuss about HTTP request and HTTP response also. Right. Now, HTTP request again divided into four parts. HTTP request again divided into five parts. Let me take it as five parts. HTTP request again divided into five parts. So what are those? First one is initial request line. Next one, host address. Third one is header line. Now fourth one is blank line. One blank line will be available in the request. Fifth line is request body. HTTP protocol is divided into two parts. One is HTTP request, another one is HTTP response. This HTTP request again divided into five parts. One is initial request line, second one is host address, third one is header section, that is header line, fourth one blank line, fifth one request body. So we don't know this. We are clicking on the button. Daily you will use a web application. IRCTC, Gmail, Facebook, Amazon, Flipkart. So many web applications you are using in your daily life. Several times you will click on buttons. Several times you will click on hyperlinks. But we don't know that request will be sent to the server contains this much information. Whatever the request that you are sending to the server from a web application contains these many details. Even we are sending a request to the REST API by using Postman. That request also contains these many parts. These many details will be available in the request that we are sending to the server. Are you guys able to understand? Did anybody encountered these details? Anybody gone through these details? Header and body, that is high level, Mr. Dhanraj. Header and body is a high level. So, but the low level, if you see the internals, these many details will be available. Did anybody know these many details that are going in the request? So even in the internet also, very rare you will get this kind of information. Lot of research we have to do. To understand these details. Right now, so that a HTTP request again divided into 5 parts. One is initial request line, second one is host address, third one is header line, fourth one is blank line, fifth line is request body. Here Ashok, you are saying that request is divided into 5 parts. What is the proof? How can we believe you? So I will prove it. Practically I will show you that request we are sending to the server contains these many details. Right. For that, let me run my REST API. Let me run my REST application so that I can prove that. So let us go to our workspace. We developed several REST APIs, right? So let me run one REST API so that I can prove that the request that we are sending contains these many details. All right. So what are these many details are available? Why these many details are there? What they are going to represent? Now, so as we discussed, our request divided into 5 parts. Can you guys please tell me what are those 5 parts? First one is initial request line. Second one is host address. Third one is header section. Headers. Fourth one is one blank line. Fifth one is request body. These are the details that will be available inside the HTTP request. Our request is divided into 5 parts. Initial request line, host address, header section, blank line, request body. Blank line means it is one empty line. This is one empty line. Blank line will be available. Empty line. Right. Initial request line contains protocol version. That means method, HTTP method. When I am talking about method, it is a HTTP method, guys. HTTP method URI. HTTP method URI will be available. That means what type of request you are sending to server. Is it a GET request, or is it a POST request, or PUT request, or delete request? That information will be available in initial request line. So HTTP method type and URI. URI means Universal Resource Identifier. URL is different, URI is different. URI nothing but your resource path. /welcome /demo /greet we are writing, right? They are called as URIs. Resource identifier, to identify that particular method of the controller, what is the URL pattern, that is called as URI. Method, URI, your path parameters, your query parameters will be available in the URI only. So what type of HTTP method you are sending, what type of HTTP method you are using, what is the URI of your resource, what is the protocol version you are using, that will be available here. Protocol version. Those details will be available inside the initial request line. HTTP method, our URI, protocol version. These 3 details will be available in the initial request line. Yes, when I am sending a GET request, I can use a path parameter or I can use a query parameter. Those things also will be presented in the initial request line. Next one, host address, that is server IP. To which server you are sending a request. That server will have an IP, that server will have a port number, right? That DNS name we are going to specify. Suppose if you are sending to localhost :8080, then that will be the localhost is the IP of the server. My server is running in the local machine, that will be represented as a localhost. If your server is running in a different machine, that server IP will be represented as a host address. Headers, we are sending accept header, content type header, right? As a client, we will send some headers to the server, like what type of data we are sending to server, in which format we are expecting the response. We will send some headers to the server. Headers, HTTP headers in key value pair format. HTTP headers we are going to send from client machine to server machine in the form of key and value. So what are the headers we already discussed? We discussed about accept header, content type header we already discussed. Content type is one header and accept is another header that client will send to the server. That client will send to the server, this is message oriented representation. What type of information client is sending to server? I mean, which format, in which format client is sending data to the server, in which format client is expecting the data from the server will be represented by the headers. Those headers also will be available in our request. Then one blank line, nothing but empty, nothing will be there, it is empty. Then request body, in the request body we will send our payload nothing but business data. This payload can be any format. It can be a text format, it can be JSON format, it can be XML, etc. Whatever the data that you want to send from client to server, that you can send by using payload. That payload represented by request body. If you go for a post request, form data we will send in a post request. Form data, file submissions, file upload, right? Such kind of data which is secure, which is secret, which is sensitive, that kind of data we will send as a payload. Payload nothing but business data. Which information client wants to send to the server, that will be represented as a payload. Sometimes some clients will send JSON, some clients will send XML. Whether client is sending JSON or XML, how server will understand? Based on the content type header. So that header is also going to the server. Based on this content type header value, server will understand in which format the data is available in the request body. Guys, are you able to follow me? Lot of internals we are trying to understand. Is my voice audible for everyone, right? Don't feel bored for the theory. If you don't know this theory, you will not become a RESTful services developer. Concentrate. Yeah. So the HTTP request structure, this is called as HTTP request structure. HTTP request structure. That HTTP request is divided into 5 parts. First one is initial request line, second one is host address, third one is headers, fourth one is blank line, fifth one is request body. Initial request line contains HTTP method, it contains URI, that URI can contain path parameter and query parameter, and it will contain protocol version. Then host address, server IP, to which server you are making a request, what is the of the server, where that server is located, that will be represented. Then headers, client will send some headers to server as a metadata, data about the data, right? Now in the form of key and value pair. Right. Next one blank line, one empty line will be available, which is used to separate header section and body section. To separate the header and body, one blank line will be available. Practically I will prove it, guys. Just give me some time. Now, next one is request body. Request body nothing but payload, the business data which is sending from client to the server. So client will send business data to the server in the request body. So client can send the data either in the URL or in the request body. Are you guys able to understand? Client can send the data to the server in the URI or in the request body. If it is not sensitive, if it is not secured, right? If it is not secret, it is not a PIN number, it is not a SSN, just one ID I want to pass as a 101. For that request body is not available. Such kind of data you can send in the URL as a query parameter or path parameter. Suppose I want to send my credit card information to the server. I want to pay a bill amount. That credit card data is a secured sensitive information. I don't want to expose in the URL. Such kind of data we will send in the request body, that is called payload. All our HTML forms data we will send to the server in the request body only in the web applications. When it comes to the distributed application, we will send some XML data or we will send some JSON data in the request body for HTTP post request. If it is a GET request, that request body will not be available. For post request, for put to delete, this request body will be available. Client can send payload to the server in this request body. Is it clear for everyone? The structure of the HTTP request? You don't know that daily you are sending this request to the server whenever you use a web application. Now you need to think like a developer. When you click on a button, immediately your brain should think that, Ray, when I click on the button, this much information is going from my browser to the server. This much information will go from my browser to server. That means you are clicking on a button. When you click on username password, and you enter username password, click on login button in the Facebook, this much data will be prepared as a request. That request will go to the server, that will be transferred by using HTTP protocol. That will be transferred by using HTTP protocol. Are you guys clear with this? Are you guys clear with this? Right. Now, sir, what is the proof of this? You discussed with so much theory. You are dividing the request structure into 5 parts. We have never seen. No faculty explain. Then how can you prove it? Right. Now, let me run my application. Let me run my REST application. Here I have one REST API, e-rail resource, some ticket information, some data is available, right? Let me run my REST application and I will test this application by using Postman. I will use Postman as a client for my REST API. So Postman will prepare the HTTP request, will send to the server. Now I will see request got prepared by the Postman. In the browser we cannot see that, but in the Postman we can see that. So let me run my application. The application number is 20, which is application developer for post request. Right, let me run it, guys. 1 second. It is loading. Right now, so this is my REST controller. It is having one method which is binded to post request. This method can take the data in the XML or JSON format. It can produce the data in the XML or JSON format. Good. Now let's run this. URL is book ticket. Let's run this application. Right click on this book, run as Spring Boot app. Application number is 20. I'm right clicking on this and I will try to run this as a Spring Boot application. This is REST API. If this REST API is up and running, then I can test this API by using client. Here actually I don't have Java based client. I have Postman. Postman we can use as a client to test our API. Run as boot app. Good. Now meanwhile, let me open my Postman. So go to browser where you install that Postman plugin. Now here I installed in the Google Chrome. So I will type Chrome:/apps. Chrome:/apps. Right. So it will display the apps which are installed. Postman is one of the plugin that I installed here. Let me click on this Postman. Postman tool is getting opened. This Postman tool I will use as a client to test my API. That means I can prepare a HTTP request by using this Postman and I can see how that request got prepared. So I discussed about five parts, right? These 5 parts we can see in the Postman. Yeah, still application is launching. Guys, I'm hoping that you already practiced that post request method with XML data and JSON data. We discussed a lot of internals also. You should not get any doubt. How that XML is converted to Java and vice versa. How JSON is converted to Java and vice versa. What is produces, what is consumes, what is content type, what is accept. I hope those concepts are very clear for all of you. Without knowing those concepts, you cannot develop your REST API. Those are the building blocks to develop our REST API. Right, application is getting started. So once it is started, we can see what is the port number which is using by the embedded server and what is the context path. I think context path is not available. Running on the port number 8084. Application started, running on the port number 8084. Context path is empty. Resource URL pattern is /book ticket. It can take the data in the JSON or XML. What is the data? Passenger info. So you can pass the data in the JSON format, first name, last name, from to journey rate, train number, or in the XML format. If I go for XML, passenger info is the root element, and these all become child elements. Right? This is a binding class. This class object can be converted to XML. XML can be converted to this class object as it is a binding class. And for JSON, normal Java class is sufficient. That's fine. Now go to Postman. Right? Now let's try to send a request. First of all, my resource is binded to post request. My resource is binded to post request. Guys, can you help me? How can I send a post request to the server using Postman? Here we have a option to select it. Right? We have a option to select it. Get request or post request. When I select the request as get, body is disabled. That means get request will not contain request body. Right. Let me select it post. When I select the request type as post, headers is available, body is available. Now currently remove this body. Currently I am removing the data available in the body. Then here enter request URL. What is our request URL? http://localhost:80/book ticket. Right. Now I selected request type as post and I have given URL. Right. Headers. I can specify header as a content type. I want to represent what type of data I am sending to server. Excuse me. Content type I will specify as application/XML. I will send the data in the form of XML. Go to body, then type the data, that is passenger information, in the form of XML. Right? Now how I can represent that data in the XML? Root element is passenger-info. Passenger-info. Inside that I can write first name. Right. Now last name. Like this. I can write the data in the form of XML. Now, so this is the data in the body. It is a raw data in the XML format. XML data will be represented by using application/XML. That means what I have done here, I selected the method type and I selected the URL. I typed the URL. I have selected one header content type as application/XML. Then I have written some data in the body. Fine, good. So after doing this, when I click on send button, what will happen? One request will be prepared like this. That request will go to the server. One request will be prepared like this. That request will go to the server. So before sending the request, first I want to see this information. I want to see this structure of the request. Are you able to understand me? Now I have given some details in my Postman. Right? Now I want to see those details. Now go to Postman. If you observe here, there will be one option called code. Guys, observe here. There is one option called code. Can you see this option, all of you? My mouse cursor is pointing here. Code symbol is available. Right? That is a hyperlink. Can you see that option? Code option. Yes. Code is not status code. Code is not a status code, sir. It is just code hyperlink. There is one hyperlink called code. I can click on this. Now, when I click on this code, you see the request is prepared. When I click on that code, one request is prepared. Now, can you see this? What is there in this request? Post / book ticket, HTTP 1.1, host localhost colon 8084, content type cache control postman token, then one blank line is available, then my XML data is available. So this is initial request line which contains a HTTP method, URI, protocol version. That is what I mentioned in my paint file. What is there in the initial request line? HTTP method will be available, our URI will be available, and our protocol version also will be available. So yesterday we have seen in the Wikipedia the latest version of the HTTP protocol is 3.0, but still here it is using HTTP 1.1 version only. Right? This is called as my initial request line. Then second one is host. Host nothing but server IP. Server IP, where your server is running. What is the URL? What is the address of your server? That data is available in the second line. Now, third line, HTTP headers are displaying. For every header, one new line it is preparing. So one of the header I prepared, one of the header I set is content to type, application / XML. These are the two headers by default coming, cache control and postman token. So these are the two headers that is added by default for the request. So after the header, sixth line, there is no data. That is blank line. So see here. So I have told that there will be one blank line between the header part and body part. In the body part, what is there? Payload. Payload nothing but here it is XML. I am sending the data to the server in the form of XML. This is called as my request body. This is called as my payload. So this is the structure of the HTTP request. This is the structure of the HTTP request which is prepared by our postman. This request will send to the server. Now in the distributed application, so that client will send a request to the server. Here postman is my client. How the request is prepared by the postman? That request is prepared in this format. So this is the proof. If you see that postman HTTP code, then we can see all the details related to our request. All the details related to our request. Are you guys clear with this one? Are you guys clear with my statements, whatever we discussed earlier about the request structure? Now, so practically we are able to see how the request structure is preparing. How the request structure is preparing. Is it clear for everyone? Request structure will be same, sir. So in the background, if you use one Java application to prepare this request, so Java will prepare this kind of request and will send to the server. This request will be prepared in the background. Programmer will never prepare request like this directly. Programmer will give the details of the request. Then it will be prepared. It will be prepared and in the background and it will be sent to the server. Suppose here from the postman using HTTP, I prepared this request and I am sending to server. Tomorrow, my Java application wants to access. My Java application wants to access the REST API. What is the code I need to write? Now see the beauty of the postman. Here select your client. Who is your client? My client is Java. My client is Java using OK HTTP. If you select this, this is the code you need to write in the Java program tomorrow as a REST client. As a REST client. Are you guys able to follow this? This is called as REST client code by using Java program. So this is the second part of our movie. How to develop a client. So that code is here. You can generate that code by using Postman. So as I told, application 2 will access application 1. Application 2 will access application 1. Application 1 is having a REST API. To access that REST API, application 2 should prepare a request. For that, we have a support in the Java. By using Java, we need to write this code. Then this will be called as a HTTP request preparation. So we are setting application/XML, Media type. Media type we are setting as applications as XML, which is our content type, and this is the URL of our resource. Then these are the headers we are setting. Then we are calling execute. When we call the execute, we will get the response from the server. This is Java REST client. Java REST client. Suppose if you are using Python as your project, Python, then go for Python. When you go for Python, Python developer will write this code to access our REST API. These are the headers he is going to send. What is this, sir? Can you read this variable? Payload. What is payload? Business data. This is terminology, industry terminology. Payload. Payload nothing but business data that we are sending to the server. So where the server is available, this is the location where the server is available. And this is the HTTP method, this is the URL, this is the payload, this is the headers. All this information they are passing to connection.request. Then that request will be prepared, then it will send to the server, then they will get the response, then they will read the response. This is the client by using Python. Similarly, if you want to send the request by using JavaScript also we can access a REST API. So go and use this jQuery Ajax. JavaScript with jQuery and Ajax, right? So this is our JavaScript code using jQuery and Ajax to access the REST API. Now we can say this is the client. $.ajax in the morning project batch somewhere we have used it. $.ajax which is used to start the Ajax engine. Using this Ajax engine, we are going to send that request. Right? So like this, support is available from different programming languages. If you are using Ruby, then this is the logic that we need to write to make a request to the REST API. Suppose if you are using some C#, .NET developer will write code like this to access our REST API. Post request, headers will be available, REST client will be there with this URL. So REST client and REST API not only specific to Java, these are universal concepts. We are learning a universal mechanism to develop distributed application. So .NET developer will write code like this to access our REST API. So similarly, different supports are available. Shell programming language. Shell. So if you go for shell, this is how they will write the code to access our REST API. Content type is XML. So if you ask what is content type, a .NET developer also will answer what is content type. Not only Java developer, every programming language the developer will understand what is content type. Right. Now if you select only C, CUL. So this is how we will access the REST API by using C. Right. Now HTTP, this is how the request will be prepared by using HTTP protocol. This HTTP request only we are trying to understand from last 1 hour. So this is the format, this is the structure of the HTTP request. This is initial request line which contains a HTTP method, which contains URI, which contains protocol version. Second line is the host. Now third, fourth, fifth, these lines are HTTP headers in the form of key and value. Sixth line, here it is a blank line, which is used to separate the header part and body part. So these are three are headers and this is body. Body nothing but payload. So to separate the header and body, one blank line will be available. Got it? So this is HTTP request structure. By using Java, we can prepare this structure. By using .NET, by using Python, by using JavaScript, several programming languages we can use to prepare our HTTP request to access the REST API. So who can act as a client for my API now? Anybody who is capable of sending one HTTP request can act as a client for my API. Anybody, any developer or any person who is capable of sending one HTTP request to my server, they can act as my client. Then they are called as REST clients. So Java having support for REST client, .NET is having, Python is having, JavaScript is having, Perl programming language, Swift programming language, C language. Several programming languages can act as a clients for my REST API because those languages are having a support to create the HTTP request. Those programming languages are having the support to create the HTTP request. Right. Here as of now, my programming language is not available. I don't know how to develop a client by using Java. Then simply use the Postman as a client. Use the Postman tool as a client to send the request to the REST API. That Postman tool is preparing a HTTP request like this. This is the postman prepared HTTP request that will send to the server. Then server will process that request and it will send HTTP response. Are you guys able to understand my words? Is it clear for everyone? Now, tomorrow when you go for the interview and somebody asks you about what is HTTP request, if you explain this detail, if you explain these details, then what would be the situation in the interview room? 99% of the people who are working also will not know these many details about the request. Definitely they will get surprised. Definitely they are going to surprised. Because very few people knows about the internals of this request and response structure. Only first part is completed. Now let's come to the second part, response structure. First we understood only request structure. Now we need to understand response structure. Directly shall we discuss the package? In Hyderabad interviews, we have a special treatment. If the student is attending an interview from our project batch, definitely he will get selected. There is no doubt. Because we will understand all the tools, we will understand all the details of internals, several real-time use cases, multi-threading, perfect scenario we are going to develop in the project. After discussing these many concepts in the interview, definitely you will get the offer letter. There is no doubt about it. So that is the reason I am saying my students are having almost 98 to 99% of the job rate from the last 2 years. We have seen so many success stories in our Facebook group. The reason, depth in the subject, confidence in the subject. So that is the secret. Right, we have to know all these details to attend the interviews. Then definitely whatever you know, this much information I learnt in 8 years. It is not one day mantra. It is not one day night out. I spent 8 years of time to get this subject from several resources, from several books, from several blogs in the internet. Lot of research and analysis, but you are going to learn in 3 months of time. So for that you need some practice. Then only you will be confident, then only you will not forget about it. So to attend the interview, this subject is more than sufficient for 3 years or 4 years. This subject is equal to 8 years experienced guy. So that's the difference directly we can show in the interview. Right. Now, so with this we are clear with what is HTTP request structure. Now let's move on to HTTP response structure. Whenever client send this request to the server, we understood this information will go to the server. Then server will process this request based on the URI we sent, based on the headers we sent, based on the body we sent. It will process that data. It will process that request. Then that server will send a response back to the client. Server will send response back to the client. HTTP response. HTTP response divided into 4 parts. HTTP response divided into 4 parts. What are those? Let's understand. First one is initial response line. First one is initial response line. Second one is headers. HTTP response headers. Response headers will be available. Here header line and reference request headers will be available here. Now here response headers will be available. Here host will not be available, sir. Already client send the request to the server. Server will just send the response to the client. Response headers. Here blank line will be available. One blank line to differentiate headers and body. The fourth one is response body. The fourth one is response body. So our HTTP response sending by the server will contain these details. One is initial response line, second one is response headers, third one is blank line, fourth one is response body. Now let's understand what will be there in these 4 sections. What will be there in these 4 sections, right? Yeah, HTTP response structure. HTTP response structure. So first one is initial response line. Initial response line. Then response headers will be available. Key value pair format. Then one blank line. Blank line. Then response body. Response body also will be available. For every request, we'll get the response with the response body. This is our HTTP response structure. Right. Now, sir, what will be there in this response structure? There are 4 sections, right? What will be there in these 4 sections? What will be there in these 4 sections? In initial response line, we will contain protocol version. Protocol version, that means which protocol we are using, what is the version of that. Then HTTP status code will be available and status message will be available. We are seeing 200, 404, 505, 500 status code. When you are developing a web application, sometimes you will get 404 status code, 500 status code. In the REST APIs, we have seen 200, 204, 201, 404, 403. Several status codes are there by the HTTP in the HTTP protocol. That status code will contain a status message. For example, for 200, OK is the status code. For 404, resource not found. For 500, server problem, internal server error, like that. Status code status message will be sent to the client in the initial response line. It contains protocol version, it contains status code, it contains status message also. HTTP status code, HTTP status message. These are called as HTTP status code. This is called as HTTP status message. HTTP status code, HTTP status message will be there in the initial response line. Initial response line. Response headers, content length, headers. Headers in key value pair format. Like content length, how much data sending from server to client. How many characters data sending from server to client. What is the length of the content? That will be represented as one header. That will be represented as a header in the response. Server is sending some content to the client, right? How much content that server is sending? What is the length of that content? Like that, several headers will be available in the response also. Then one blank line will be available. One blank line will be available just to separate the header part and body part. The response body, payload will be available. Payload nothing but business data. What is the data that server is sending to the client? It may be a text data, it may be a XML data, it may be JSON data, etc. Payload, business data that will be sent by server to the client. That will be sent by server to the client. So whenever you make a request to the server, server will process that request and will send the response. The response is divided into 4 parts. First one is initial response line, second one is response header section, third one is blank line, fourth one is response body. Initial response line contains protocol version, which protocol we are using and what is the version number. Then HTTP status code will be available, then HTTP status message also will be available. Then headers part will be available that represents the data in the form of key and value pair. These headers are sending by server to the client. Next one blank line will be available which is used to separate our client and server. Sorry, our header and body. To separate the header part and body part, we will have a blank line. Next, response body will be there. This is the actual response that is receiving by the client, which is sent by the server. Now, sir, what is the proof? What is the proof of this? So how can you say these many details will be available in the response? Can we see these details practically? Can we see these details practically, guys? So now I will make a request to the server. Now I want to see the response. Now I need to verify my response contain all these details or not. My response contains all these details or not. I need to verify that. Request already be verified. So that's whatever we discussed, that is 100% true. Now we need to think about the response also. We need to verify, does really server is sending this many details in the response, right? Now go to Postman. Here first name, last name is there. Now it is expecting some other fields also, like from to, journey date, train number. They are not mandatory. Let's still, we can set the data from HYD to Pune, journey date, those things we can set it, no problem. Yeah, let's check it. Here I am giving request type as a post. I have given this URL. Then I set the header as a content type XML format. Body contains my payload. My payload is a XML. My payload is a XML. Then it is a raw data I selected. Then as of now I did not send the request. Now I want to make a request to the server. So if I make a request to the server, do you know how the request will send to the server? Yes, this is how the request will be prepared, will send to the server. Then server will process that request and it will send that response. Good. Now let me click on send button. If I click on send button, that HTTP request will go to the server. It will send the response. Once I receive the response, I need to verify all these details, whether this data is available in the response or not. Sorry, this data, this is response. This data is available in the response or not. I need to verify this data. Right guys, I'm clicking on send button. Is it clear for all of you? Is it clear for all of you? Good. Now we can send accept also, in which format you want the response. One more header I can send. Accept. I want the response in the JSON format. My REST support for my REST API is currently supporting for XML response and JSON response. XML input, JSON input. But here I am doing input, I am sending in the XML, that is the content type. My body contains XML data. Then output I am accepting in the JSON. So content type is XML, accept is JSON. We discussed about these two headers. Practically we have seen it. Now, so let me click on send button. So what will happen when I click on the send button, guys? Could you please answer? What will happen if I click on the send button? Come on, I need your answers fast. What will happen if I click on the send button? HTTP request will send to the server. Very good. Now click on send button. We got the response. We got the response. Now see here. We got the response. Ticket ID, ticket status, ticket price, passenger name, from, to, train number, journey date. We did not pass these values, so we did get the null values. But think about it. We got the response. We got the response. This is my JSON data. The response I got in which format? JSON. Why I got the data in the JSON format? Why not in the XML? Can you answer please? Why I got the response in the JSON? Why not in the XML? I need answer. We have given accept header with the JSON type. So that's the reason we got the response in the JSON format. Good. Right. Now observe. What is this data? Where we got this data? Are we having this data in the header part? Are we having this data in the body part? What is this? What is highlighted in the menu? Body. So can I call this as response body? Can I call this as a response body? Yes or no? This is payload, which is sent by server to client. This is business data. Ticket information is a business data sent by server to client. It is payload. It is payload information. Yes. Now go to header part. Go to header part. What is this? What is this? Headers. These are called response headers. These are called response headers, which is sent by server. Now guys, see here, what is the content type represented now in the response header? JSON. In the request, content type means input format. In the response, content type means output format. Date, when the request is sent. keep alive, transfer encoding, connection, content type. These are the response headers we got from the server. These are the response headers we got from the server. Able to follow this? Now, if you observe here, what is available? Status. 201 is the status code, created is the status message. The request has been fulfilled and resulted in a view a new resource being created. That means we sent HTTP post request to the server. HTTP post request will create a new resource. So it will return a response with the status code as a 201. 201 means resource is created. 201 means resource is created. So this is the status code, this is the status message. This status code, this status message will come in the HTTP response. Then in the response we will have the headers and we will have a body also. HTTP response structure contains these details. HTTP response contains these details. So HTTP protocol we are using, then status code, status message will be available, then headers will be available, then body will be available. This is HTTP response structure. When you are going to develop a REST client, you need to read the status code, you need to read the response body also. So tomorrow when you want to develop a REST client, you need to know what is the status code given by the server and what is the payload given by the server. These details are important for us because I am sending a request for some data. I am sending a request to the server to get some response, right? When I get the response, what is the status code? This status code will tell me what happened to my request. Whether my request is success or whether my request is failed, I will understand with this status code. And what if the request is successful, what response I got, what content I got from the server, that will be available in the payload. That is our response body. So I need to read the response body and I need to read the status code. If the status code is 200, that means successful, I will get the payload. If the status code is 201, successful, I will get the payload. If the status code is 500, it is failure, then nothing will be there in the payload. I will not read the payload. If the status code is 500, that means server problem. If the status code is 404, client problem, nothing will be there in the payload. So depends on the HTTP status code we got in the response, we will decide whether to read this response body or not in the client application. So tomorrow we are going to develop a REST client like this, right? Application 2. Application 2 will make a request to application 1. Application 1 will send HTTP response with the status code and payload. If the status code is 404, that means the request itself is not processed. Then nothing will be there in the payload. So to understand the client development, to complete your REST clients through programming, you need to know what status code the server is returning and what is the payload returned by the server. Then only our client application development can be completed. Because our client requires that payload from the server. Our client requires that payload from the server. So when I need to read the payload, every time I am going to read the payload, or I will read the payload only if my request is successful. If request is successfully processed, then only I will read the payload. How I will know whether my request is processed successfully or not? Based on the status code. Who will send this status code? Server will send the status code. So you need to know the meaning of each and every status code. What is 200? What is 201? What is 202? 203, 204, 401, 402, 403, 404, 500, 501, 502, like that. For every status code, you need to know the meaning. Then only you can understand when to take the response body from the HTTP response. That response body contains a payload, business data that's sent by the server. Now, if you think about our eRail application, input I am sending as a passenger data, which is payload sent by the client. Output I got as a ticket data, this is the payload sent by the server. So I sent the passenger data to the IRCTC. IRCTC booked a ticket and sent the ticket information to me. Now I am a client for IRCTC. So here I am using Postman as a client. Using Postman, I am sending a request to the REST API, that processing that request, sending the payload back to me in the response body. I sent my payload in the request body, server sent that payload in the request body. So payload will exchange between client and server or between one API to one application to another application in the request body. The payload can be sent in multiple formats. It can be sent in the XML, it can be sent in the JSON. It depends on your resource, which formats it is supporting. But if you go for SOAP based web services, The payload always you need to exchange in the form of SOAP XML only. The SOAP web services will not support any other format except SOAP XML format. In the SOAP based web services, payload nothing but SOAP XML. When it comes to the RESTful services, payload can be in multiple formats. Some people may use XML, some people may use a JSON, some people may use a text format also. Are you guys clear with HTTP request structure and HTTP response structure? Look at this. First, what is HTTP? Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which acts as a mediator between client and server. Right? Now, when it comes to the distributed applications also, one application can communicate with another application by using HTTP protocol. This protocol is divided into two parts. One is request part and second one is response part. That request part is divided into 5 parts. Again, the request part is divided into 5 parts. Initial request line, host address, headers, blank line, response body. Initial request contains HTTP method, URI and protocol version. Host nothing but server IP, server address will be available where the server is running. What is the port number of that? Headers, client will send some headers to the server in the form of key and value pair that will be represented in the request. Then one empty line will be available to differentiate header part and body part. In the body part, payload XML will be available. This payload will be sent by client to server. It can be sent in multiple formats. That depends on your resource supporting formats. Right. Next one. Once client send that request, server will process that request and server will send response back to the client. That response contains which protocol we used, then what is the status code, what is the status message for your response. Then response headers will be available. One blank line will be available to separate the header and body. Body contains payload. This payload will be prepared by the server and that means one API that will send to the client. So when client will read this payload depends on the status code. Status code will represent what happened with our request. Whether request is successful or request is failure or request is aborted, what's wrong with this or what's happened with the request. That client will understand based on the status code. So being a RESTful services developer, you should have very strong knowledge related to HTTP protocol, status codes, status messages, HTTP methods, HTTP request, request structure, response, response structure. Then only we can develop our REST APIs with 100% confidence. Alright guys, thank you.